Barobo is a section of the Global tribe, one of the largest groups of the Global tribe. And I grew up there and finished junior high school in Glofaken. And then I moved to Kipamas High School, where I attended high school and graduated from Kipamas High School before I came to Monrovia.
Mhm.
And then, of course, I went to the University of Liberia and earned a bachelor's degree in economics. I did some work here in commercial banking and did other work. And then I moved to the United States. I earned a Master of Science degree in finance
Mhm.
from Northeastern University. Finance is a branch of economics, and it's focused on finding money and investing the money wisely.
Mhm.
So I lived in the States for some time, and then I returned to Liberia in 2012 at the invitation of President Salih's government.
Okay.
And I work as Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs. But prior to that, I served as Commissioner of Elections. That was one of my highlights in Liberia growing up as a young man.
Mhm.
I was Commissioner of Elections in 1997, representing the youth and the students. So when I returned 2012, I became Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs. I ran the decentralization program. I mobilized about $30 million for that program.
Mhm.
My strength is in raising money.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then I left and I found a passion to build Liberia's identification system. Identification systems are vital for development,
Mhm.
service delivery, efficiency. In a digital age, ID systems are very valuable for societies. So
Okay.
I ran that for almost 8 years, and then I had to resign
Okay.
because of an executive order that I think unfairly targeted me.
Mhm.
I think I was at the center of the formulation of that executive order. Those that pushed it from the legislature were trying to go after me. So I had to resign. Now I'm running for the Senate, and I'm very excited. I'm excited because there are all indications I'm the leading candidate, but that's not what excites me. What excites me is that I feel I'm very close to having an opportunity to join others to provide leadership for my people and achieve significant transformation in the lives of Marylanders over the next 10 years.
Okay. Now, when did you realize that it was quite necessary to seek, legislative posts? When did you realize that?
I know for a long period of time, I've been in leadership. When I became Commissioner of Elections representing the youth and students of this country, because even at that very early age, I had been, in leadership. I remember myself in leadership as a kid, 13, 14 years old, community leadership, church leadership, youth, and things like that. My father before me was a leader of his people. He was a political giant. He fought for them, went to jail many times, and he fought for their political liberation. Now I'm fighting for their economic freedom.
Okay.
And so this is something that has been part of me for some time. I migrated to the United States. I had a graduate degree and I was doing okay. But I felt that I could do a lot more for the people that care, that matter to me the most. If I return to Liberia, we used to be part of initiatives to raise money and send it. But some of the things that I've done in Liberia since I came are in millions of dollars. And I could not have done them for Liberia. If I lived in the United States, it would have been difficult. So I made the sacrifice to return. So the short answer to the question is that I've always cared about using my influence and my strength to impact the lives of people that are less fortunate, that look up to people like myself for protection and prosperity. So this is something that I've always been. So going to the Senate, seeking to go to the Senate is an extension of something that I've been part of my life.
Now, why did you, Mr. NAGBE, why did you settle for maybe the lower house or the House of Representatives rather than the Senate?
Oh, you might not know I ran unsuccessfully 2017. I had just returned to the country. And I tried to go to the lower house, and I was unsuccessful. And I came third in that election. The house is a very fierce race. People underestimate the house. Uh, you know, eh, when 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 the House election is taking place and you are unfortunate to have a lot of candidates from coming from your side, there's not very much you can do though, because the way people look at elections, every community wants a seat for themselves.
Okay.
But at the Senate is a little bit different because the place is big, and so there are a lot of neutral spaces where you can just openly communicate, make a case, and the people can say, we like what you are saying, we like you. None of our relatives is running, none of our, because the space is big. But I ran in a house race where 5 of the candidates were coming from my area, and it was just hard to find space to even dribble.
Okay.
The place was overcrowded. So
you became unsuccessful.
Yeah, and I think over the years now, I think I've arrived at a point where the Senate is the ideal place for me.
Okay.
And I look forward to doing great things at the Senate.
Okay, we'll talk about that. But what is your political ideology? What's your belief?
I'm a progressive. I'm a left-leaning by design. I'm a progressive. Even my economic philosophy. In economics, usually there are 2 sides of economic management and policy, decision making.
Okay.
There is the left side that we call the demand side economy, economist, and that is basically, in simple terms, when people on the left side come up with policies, the policies target the poor. The policies are intended to put money in the hands of ordinary, the consumers. And they feel that when the consumers have money, they will go and spend that money. And as they are spending that money, there will be growth because they are spending more money. So many companies will go make more things to sell, and therefore they'll start to hire more people. In simple terms, that is really called Keynesian economics.
Okay.
I'm a Keynesian economist. I believe very strongly that you achieve growth primarily, not entirely, but primarily, by promoting the interests of the consumers.
Okay.
And politically, also, I'm left-leaning. In most countries, there are 2 sides, the left and the right politically. And those who are left-leaning are the progressives. And their policies target ordinary people. They target the masses. They target the poor. They feel that government exists first and foremost to make sure that there is national, peace and security. But secondly, to promote the welfare of the citizens.
Okay.
Those who are on the right side feel that everybody should be strong to take care of themselves. But those who are on the left side say, well, there are a lot of people who you can take care of them, but you also have to have policies that give them opportunity, because some of the business people and some of the rich people, other people took care of their people a long time ago. That's why they are strong. So we have to take care of the people. So those who are left-leaning politically, progressive people, they come up with programs that can help public services.
The category that you find yourself
Yes.
in. Okay.
Public services should be affordable, and they should be of quality.
Okay.
So like public education, because plenty of people will not afford to be able to send their children to school, to private school. I went to public school until I finished college in Liberia.
Okay.
And the public school system was very good. So people like me, I believe in very good public school system. Very good. As a first choice for people. I believe that I believe in employment opportunities as a way of lifting people out of poverty. So philosophically, as an economist, I'm a Keynesian economist. I'm a left-leaning economist.
Okay.
Philosophically, as a politician, I'm a left-leaning politician. I believe in catering to the masses, and that's why I'm a seditious.
Now, that's why you are a seditious, which is good. Now, what is your understanding of the inner workings of the Senate?
The Senate, I've been around the legislature for some time. I had 2 stints there. In 1991, we came from the war, and there was an old man there called Barney Taylor. He came from Barobo. He was representing one of the factions at the time. and there was a transitional legislature, and he invited me to serve as a special assistant. I was there for a couple of months, maybe 9 months, and left. Then I went to Rovio Bank to work there as as one of the managers. And then after I left the Elections Commission, Councillor Bromsky and the late Charles Bromsky, may his soul rest in peace, invited me to work with him as chief of office staff, to his office as president pro tempore of the Senate. So on these two occasions, I had a chance to work around the legislature. But the way I see the legislature is a little bit different from the way many people see it in Liberia.
Okay.
I think that's why I had a presentation at one of the intellectual discourses in Monrovia a couple of weeks ago, and I spoke about this. I think our legislature has gone in the wrong direction, and we need to correct it. I see the purpose of the legislature to be a very unique institution of the government, a branch of the government that serves basically as the place for the people's needs, their opportunities to be brought before the table, to be brought at the table. Coming from on the ground as representatives or senators, understanding the local situations, they need to bring the local needs and the local opportunities as well, not just the local problems, but the local opportunities to the seat where the central government discussions are taking place. And the need to make sure that they find solution to those problems so that the country can advance and prosper. And prosperity is something that the legislature and every one of us got to pay attention to, because prosperity is the glue that binds our sovereignty. For a country to be sovereign, to be free, to be independent, it has to make sure that it is economically strong to take care of itself.
Okay.
So the legislature has to pay attention, and unlike the judiciary, they are one branch of the government that their work touches all aspects of the country. They help the judiciary to get set up, okay, in the sense that they participate in the confirmation of judges, but they also fund the judiciary. So the strength of the judiciary also depends on the work that the legislature does. Okay. And they do the same thing for the executive, even down to the fuel that the president's car uses is provided through the budget that the legislature provides, and the law gives them the right to impose taxes, okay, through which we raise revenues and other fees, and to distribute that money through the budget. So it's a very significant institution. But over the last couple of years, our legislature has veered in the wrong direction, where they have thought that their role is to find more money for themselves and use the money to distribute to the citizens. But you can't achieve progress that way. No matter how much money you give each of the legislators. I want to tell you that I think the legislature's budget has doubled over the last 5 years, when the national budget has not doubled, because of this direction of, if we have more money for ourselves, we could give it to our constituents, and that's how we get re-elected.
Your critics could say that apparently it is one reason for which you are heading for the legislature, because of what you are explaining, that they are concerned about themselves, very egocentric than that of the people that they serve. Is it one reason for which you are going to the legislature?
It's one of those reasons. It's really going to be. I'm going to be a big advocate to reposition the legislature, and I don't think they really did it out of being self-centered, because the current president pro tempore is right that many former legislators are not rich people. If anything, many of them are not, they struggle financially, because they brought the citizens to their feet and say, I'm going to have a lot of money in my pocket, and I will use the money to pay your rent, to buy you, to help you pay your school fees, to send you to hospital, to do this. So everybody comes to them, and as a result of this, the money that comes to them, they use it, and they don't really have much for themselves. What they need to do is to promote prosperity, to make sure, and the way you do that is you fight very hard for economic growth. And as you see, I will talk further about Maryland, about Liberia, and you help people to have jobs. When people have jobs, they can take care of themselves. That's the best way to promote prosperity, fight to create jobs. People have opportunity to work. They can do more for themselves than you can do for them. And that's where I'm going to focus on.
So you do understand the inner workings of the Senate?
Yes.
Okay. Now let me take you back to those positions that you served, Mr. TIAH, former commissioner of elections, former chief of office staff to the president pro tempore of the Liberian Senate, former deputy minister of internal affairs, and former executive director of the National Identification Registry. How well did you serve, and what were the trickle-down effects of your service to the people of Maryland then?
I mean, to Maryland, when I work on the Elections Commission, talking about how well did I serve, I was the youngest commissioner, and people that work around that commission will tell you that they will tell you that they believe I did well. In fact, the hallmark of my achievement on that commission was that I helped to formulate an electoral system, a modified proportional representation system that allowed for use of proportional representation system to produce a constituency election. This is a little bit technical. I can be technical at times.
I know.
Basically, what happened was the way they wanted to do the elections was they wanted to just appoint the party will win the election, and then after they win the election, they just appoint people randomly. But I managed to oppose that and to design the system so that all the 64, at the time there were 64 representatives that were in the legislature, were people that came from the constituencies that they represented. So that's the short end of the story. And of course, since then I've contributed to electoral systems. To my contribution to Maryland, maybe I provided some job opportunities to a lot of Marylanders. I mean, that is, that's how it works here in Liberia. So,
well, how did you do it? Did you bring them to Monrovia and employ?
During that program, I employ a lot of young people. Many of them, are big people in this country today.
Okay.
I will not go through the names, but it was a tough time. We're coming out of the war. That was after April 6th, things were tough. And so every little, opportunity you had to earn something made a big difference.
Okay.
And so I did help a lot of people, and that's why I will leave it. At the Ministry of Internal Affairs, I mean, I had national level responsibility, but I also advocated for Maryland. The administration building in Maryland County was renovated for $500,000 and was renovated when I was Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs on a project I managed called the Liberia Decentralization Program. And the purpose for that was we're building county service centers. But in the case of Maryland, there was a huge infrastructure, historic building that was lying in waste. And so I made the case that instead of building a new county service center, as you find in other counties, the best thing was to renovate that building.
Using $500,000.
Yes, okay. That's what we did. And when I came back, and that was, this is something that is really dear to me. When I was in the States, we used to come together and raise money and try to help my people in Barrow. It's hard to find money in America. Sometimes we raise 10,000, 6,000, things like that. But now I was Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs. I felt I could find more for my people here. I could do more. So the first visit I made was in 2012, I think November. And I went with the superintendent and the road. We almost slept on the road. And I said, this is something has to happen. In fact, Omeo refused to provide us escort because they said the place is not accessible and they are not doing patrols and they will not take responsibility for our security. So there was a project that had been initiated by Honorable City, but it got stuck for that road to get renovated. And using my influence as Deputy Minister, I knocked on a couple of doors, opened a couple of doors, and by April of 2013, that road was reconditioned for about $250,000 United States dollars. Okay. I could not have found that money when I was in the States. And since I returned to Liberia, the road to Barrow has not closed. There was a police station that should have been built there in Barrow, but because the road was closed, it wasn't built. So when I opened the road, I went to Omeo. They did a quick impact project for $50,000. And there are a couple of other projects, rural projects that are being involved in Maryland. When I was at Internal Affairs, I used to call myself the chief messenger for Maryland.
Okay.
Many of the problems that were in Maryland, disputes and things like that, land disputes, I'm the one that went there because the place it's hard to reach.
Okay.
And many people didn't want to go, but I always found time, to go. The CRC was closed for I think 21 days. I led the negotiation for 14 days to reopen it.
Okay. At the National Registry.
At the registry, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these things are national level responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
But by coincidence, I had a unique opportunity to provide, to run a program, not funded by me, to be honest, but funded by, a partner who preferred at the time to keep it confidential for a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
To provide free national ID cards for Marylanders. And so we provided free national identification cards. It was a very complex project to execute to more than 35, maybe more than 40,000 Marylanders. So Maryland has the highest number of ID cards per capita as a percentage of the population in Liberia. And thank God I was able to manage the program to execute that. I faced stiff resistance from the legislature. Unfortunately, from the House, it was difficult to understand that Marylanders representing Marylanders will have problem with me executing or carrying out a program that benefited Marylanders. I still don't understand.
So as we speak now, Mr. NAGBE, and that's the reason why I thought to bring this. As we speak, you are so tight-lipped on this partner that carried the program to Maryland, providing free identification cards for the people.
Yeah, the partner said that they can disclose that because one of the things that you might not be aware of is that with national ID projects, there can be a number of things. Sometimes they are security things, but other times, and I told it to the legislatures, other times they're about, how do I explain it? So let me give you an example. So somebody comes to ELBC here and say, they come and issue national identification cards here and they want to use them to distribute rice, free rice. You think that only ELBC employees will can't take it? The whole community will jump here today. They're working for ELBC because there's free rice behind it. So the way sometimes you carry out a program like that, you say, I come to issue national identification cards to ELBC staff. Then after you finish, you say the cards will be used to distribute rice. At that point, people can come from in the community because the issuance is over. And that was what the partner was planning to give a lot of benefit.
Why is this an invincible partner?
Where? The non-governmental organization working in Liberia.
They are in Liberia.
Yes,
but that means cannot be disclosed by you.
That was the understanding, and I briefed the legislature in confidence in the executive.
Now, because the interpretation is, Mr. NAGBE, the issuance of free identification cards to the people of Maryland at the time, people interpreted it as a bid by you to attract that vote today.
That was not what it was intended for. I wouldn't have found that kind of money. If you issue 40,000 identification cards, it's something that will cost you around $200,000 US. And I don't have $200,000 US in my pocket to do. I think the credit I have is for managing the program. The partner came to us. They themselves, and they came to us. They chose Maryland. And there are people at the registry who are fully.
You didn't telegraph them in a way?
No. You
didn't ask them to choose Maryland because you were opting to run for a Senate seat in Maryland today?
This is a very highly reputable partner there beyond that. My credit is for successfully managing the program. Yeah.
Okay, so you did that successfully?
Yeah, it was a very complex program to manage, because we're doing a kind of decentralized enrollment. Prior to that, we enrolled mainly in Plebo and Harper, but now we have to go all across the place. And these type of projects that you can fill very quickly.
Okay. Now, you indicated in a write-up that I saw, TIAH, that you want to bring training, experience, and connections to the Senate to find resources and put in place programs that can seriously improve the lives of Marylanders and Liberians. I want you to clearly explain this for us.
I mean, in short, to do a job, you got to be ready for it. You have to be able. It's not just because you have a warm body and you are alive and healthy. You got. I follow soccer, and a lot of Liberians follow soccer, so I like simple soccer analogies. If you want to, use somebody to be your striker, to be the one that will make you win trophies, they got to be somebody that knows what they are doing. The Senate is not the place to go and learn on the job. A lot of people.
So, are you saying that you want to take training there?
No, I have a lot of training, a lot of experience in government. I mean, you went through my profile. So if I get to the Senate, I'm not going to go there learning what to do. I have the skills, the competency, I believe, the connections to be able to succeed. If I get to the Senate, when you are there, you got to work on major committees to be able to have influence, and you got to do a serious work so that you can, improve the lives of your people. And that's what I intend to do for Liberia and for Maryland.
Okay. Now, so let's look into your manifesto now. I was trying to read through, and I determined that your manifesto is in two folds. One for the people of Sando County, Maryland rather. I'm from Sando, so not the same people anyway. One for the people of Maryland County, and another portion of your manifesto for the people of Liberia. Maryland, you are opting, according to what I read, to provide the leadership that we ought to create about 10,000 jobs. Very ambitious. How do you intend to do that? How realistic is that?
It's not that ambitious, but I can tell you that to solve big problems, you have to have a mindset to do big things. Your solutions that you are proposed, you match the problem. When I can tell you a simple example, you're walking down the road and somebody is selling their waiter market and you waste it, and it's they're selling Grampy and that $20,000 Grampy. You don't take $500 from your pocket and put it in their hand. They'll hold your trousers. You got to find a way to find 20,000 Liberian dollars and pay. It's as simple as that. You can say, "Oh, I get 500." I know, but other person. So our country has big problems. Maryland has big problems. It's the farthest point from Monrovia. And so you got to have solutions that are big enough so the problem can be solved. You don't go to represent them to try. Trying can't cut it. You can't do it. You got to go there, and I'm strong enough to be able to, 10,000 jobs. When I call it Maryland, was 10,000 jobs. I said 10,000 jobs. I want, Clinton. I followed him, Bill Clinton, when he was campaigning for the United States. And I was pretty young then, but excited with someone. He was talking about creating 20 million jobs. He created 23 million jobs. I live in the United States, a big country that thinks big and does big things. That's why around the world, 20,000 jobs are small thing. If we create 500,000 jobs in Liberia over the next 6 years or 10 years, as I'm hearing some people talking, Maryland's fair share, based on the percentage, our population as a percentage of the total of Liberia, should be 20,000 jobs. So if Liberia creates 500,000 jobs, Maryland, if we get our fair share, we're supposed to take 20,000 jobs there. I'm trying to, on my own, lead effort to create 10 or 20,000.
So then the question is, how are you going to do it? Because I understand you want to create the jobs over the period of 10 years. How do you intend?
So I'm an economist. The key to job creation is to help people make things or produce services. So when you have an economy like Liberia, an economy that is stressed and on a developed state, you got to look around and find ways to make things, because the more your people can make things, the more jobs they will have. And in the modern society, Mr. George, I say this to Liberian, to Marylanders, job is vital, it's key.
Surely.
It's next to peace. Once you achieve peace and people not running around, the next thing is you got to find a way for them to have work. When they have work, they can take care of themselves. They can take care of their families. So going forward, I will be one of the big advocates for job creation in Liberia. Past governments have tried to shy away from this, and I'm happy that President Weah is embracing it with some of the efforts recently with the rubber processing plant. I think somewhere in Salala, and I think some other concession coming for to make for eggs and things like that. But to create jobs, you have to think about how do I make people to go to work making things. Many people in Liberia, when you talk about creating jobs, they talk about the government payroll. No, guess what? The government payroll itself is funded largely by the private sector. That companies can pay for the government payroll. If you don't have a lot of companies and they are not paying a lot of taxes, the government can pay the payroll. So you have to start out with finding ways to attract a lot of foreign investment. And the reason why you focus on foreign direct investment in an economy like this is that the kind of money, the kind of companies that you need to create the kind of jobs you want to create, you will find out that your citizens don't have that kind of money. In Maryland, there's a concession there. CRC is at the center of the Maryland economy. That concession was for about $75 million. How many Liberians can find $75 million? But if you can bring big concessions that can do 50 million, 75, 100, 150, in different areas. In Maryland, I want us to focus on manufacturing, agriculture, tourism. I call it mat to mattress. Manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, attracting foreign investors to come in your country to make things in agriculture, to make things in manufacturing. Okay, the rubber processing plant. The guy is talking about eventually making tires. He's talking about because of that investment, 700 people directly working for him. There'll be another maybe 1,000 indirectly, because for him to produce the rubber, some people have to make the latex. They had to buy from rubber farms.
Surely.
So a lot of rubber farms, in addition to the 700 people that are working for him, indirectly, a lot of rubber farms are going to be getting money from him as he pays them to get their rubber, and they can use that money to pay the workers who are making that rubber. So it's a whole chain, direct and indirect employment, but it's driven largely by a mindset to make things, whether you are doing it in manufacturing, in agriculture, or in tourism, to deliver services. That's how you create jobs. This happened in Liberia before, and Marylanders understand it very well.
But the question is, Mr. NAGBE, your county being one of the fairest counties around, how do you attract the direct foreign investments you are making reference to be able to create the 10,000 jobs over the period of 10 years?
10 or more thousand jobs. We do more than 10,000 jobs. So, when you're in a situation, you got to assess yourself and see where you are strong and where you are weak. Maryland has a...
So you've done your SWOT analysis now.
Yeah, Maryland has a serious disadvantage in being the farthest point from Monrovia. So because of that, that's why Maryland has challenges finding money. It's hard to get things there. Right now, the road is cut.
So the question, what sort of mechanism, what strategy?
I'll show you some of that.
Okay, let's go.
And even Marylanders, when they produce their things, they are not able to sell them to the biggest market in Liberia. The biggest market in Liberia is the metropolitan Monrovia. Okay, you bring plenty here in 2-3 trucks, you carry it, will disappear, they'll buy it. But you get a truckload of plenty in Maryland or rot, nobody there to buy it.
Okay.
So Maryland systematically has fallen behind because of this distance that doesn't give it access to market. But in the midst of all that, Maryland has advantages. So last year, I started to travel and to scout in preparation for running.
Okay.
I was in South Africa, I was in Dubai, I was in Morocco, and I was in Côte d'Ivoire, Abidjan, to speak with some...
Because you are upbeat of winning the election.
Yes, to speak with some potential investors to find out if they can really come to Maryland and what it would take. And I can report to say that there are a lot of people that are interested in coming to Maryland. I spoke with them. I said, one of the things I want us to do is one of the first legislations I want to introduce is a legislation to establish an industrial free zone between Plebo and Hapo.
Okay.
Okay. So when you have an industrial free zone similar to the one that we had here that was not successful, when companies are situated on that piece of land, they don't pay taxes on their profit. So it's like a concession. And you use that to attract investment because of the little profit. They can make more profit. They can keep more of their profit.
And you made a promise to them.
That's what I intend to do. So I say, okay, this is one area we're going to work in to do manufacturing. There are a lot of things that you can manufacture. We have rubber. We can the same thing with the rubber processing here. There are rubber materials that you can manufacture. Now we are in the oil, palm oil. There are a lot of products that come from palm. Many other things that require import substitution. One of the problems with Liberia is we import too many things. And when you import things, you pay the workers in other countries that produce those things.
Surely.
So I want us to produce some of the things here. So they said that's interesting. So they decided to ask me a question. My training is in finance with specialty in investment management. So I can communicate with them. So they said,
do you care to name some of them, please?
Specifically, I can come back to that and see if I can measure.
Yeah, sure. We want some of the names.
Yeah, I can measure a couple. But some of the
want to verify what TIAH number is telling the people of Maryland.
Some of the questions that they were saying to me, some of the questions they were asking me was, okay, how's the road
situation there?
Yeah. And I said, yes, the government is working on paving the road. But the good thing that is in Maryland, that in Maryland, from the port of Harper to where we want to do some of the work, the road is paved. Okay, so it's easier for them to move there because they have to bring raw materials from other countries and then to do manufacturing. They say, how is electricity? The good thing I said to them is that we're not generating locally in Maryland, but we are taking from Cote d'Ivoire. So if we wanted to use a lot of power, we can negotiate with them and have sufficient power to be able to support you. But one key question they asked in the end was, what's your population and what's the size of your economy?
Okay.
And my eyes were rolling because I knew they would get there. But when I kept saying to them, okay, listen, Liberia's population is 5.2 million and our GDP is probably less than 5 billion. They were not excited. But I said, here is what it is. We are part of ECOWAS. And across the border to us is Ivory Coast with a population of 27 million. All of a sudden, that's one of the advantages of Maryland.
Okay.
Maryland is very close to
Africa. Okay.
Yes. And Ivory Coast is a big market. It's one of the biggest markets in Africa. So when you have the right kind of people, they can sell. You make the best of biscuits, you can sell it to Ivory Coast. They will not stop you. And of course, that's why I went to Cote d'Ivoire to work on the relationship, and we have very strong relationship with folks in Cote d'Ivoire that are going to help us. So we see great opportunities in agriculture as well. Ivory Coast is very advanced in agriculture.
Okay.
They are the world, number one producer of cocoa, and I think they can also move to Maryland and help us, and that can create a lot of jobs. Rubber, pick up some of our plantations there. Palm oil. They are, I think, the third largest producer of cashew nuts, and cashew nuts are eaten mainly by Americans. I think Americans are the number one eaters of cashew nuts. And under the AGOA program, we could find opportunities to sell to the United States, on a very favorable terms. That could help. So we have to find a way to put our people to work. There is no if and end about this, and even every one of you, including journalists, should be asking this of politicians. This is the way you promote prosperity.
Surely.
You can't promote prosperity by taking money from budget, putting it in your pocket and divide. It's never going to be enough. They can give you $500,000 to distribute in your county. You can't do anything. It's not enough. But if people have job, if they are working, if more companies come, like the way Todman did under the open door policy, more foreign companies come and bring big investments, then a lot of people can have work. When a lot of people have work, they can take care of themselves, and the government revenue will increase.
Okay.
One of the challenges we have in Liberia is that for the last over 14 years, our revenue, the nominal, in nominal terms, dollar for dollar, we're not even talking about the actual value. It's not has not been much higher than what Sorbor was managing in 1980. And our population has increased significantly.
Surely.
So we have to increase the government revenue substantially beyond $1 billion. Beyond, I think, and I will talk about this later as we go on. I think we need to find a way to get our economy to a $10 to $15 billion economy in the next 10 years.
Okay. Now, Mr. NAGBE, you also intend if you win the election in Maryland County to improve on the Harper and Plebo road by paving the streets. First, give us an idea as to how do the streets look in Plebo and Harper that you want to pave now?
I mean, in Harper, the paved roads start where Tottenham left them. The streets in Harper.
Since the
1971.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think we have added 1 kilometer of paved street. I mean, I don't know, City Street in Maryland since Tottenham left. If Tottenham is looking down now, he would be shocked to say, "Are you kidding me? It means since I left people again." Tottenham was not a very educated person by any measure. I think some people say he finished high school or 8th grade, whatever. He never went to college, apprentice, and he built a beautiful city left here. And we can't even do anything. And here is what I said to you. Foreign direct investment, the same way Tottenham did, is key for economic growth and prosperity. When you have more companies there, then what going to happen, Mr. George? Your social development fund is not going to increase.
It will.
It will increase. Okay, right now we got CRC, MOPP. If we have 2, 3, 4, 5 other concessions added to that, the social development fund will increase. And there's something in the developed world that they do what we call revenue bonds. So if you get to a point where let's say you're generating, Maryland can generate $300,000-$500,000 a year, or let's put it to hypothetical, $1 million a year. Over the next 30 years, it will be at least $30 million. Now you can go to a bank and say, "I expect to make $30 million over the next 30 years, but give me $10 million now, and then I'll process the payment through you. And every time the money comes, you take some of the money I borrow from you. You give me, it's called revenue bonds. So what you can do is that you can front load the development instead of waiting to use out $1 million every year for 30 years. You can use some of it now to pave the streets. So by bringing more companies, you're going to have more local revenue. By having more local revenue, you can carry on more development. Because the key to all these services is money. Do you have the money? And that's what we intend to do. Once we can bring more companies in, we'll be able to negotiate a revenue bond facility that we can use to pave the streets, to put in water system, in the cities, and even in the rural communities. We want to make sure that every town or village has at least a decent place where they can meet. They have other things like sanitation systems, latrines and safe drinking water. And of course, the signature project for me is to make sure that if I get in the Senate before I leave, nobody in Maryland will live on a attached house.
Wow.
Nobody.
You sure of that?
And this is something that I'm very sure of. With the resources that I'm going to mobilize, it's a thing of the past. It's embarrassing to talk about it. Even in places, the many parts of Liberia where you don't see it. But because Maryland and the Southeast is so far, and the people can't sell things to Monrovia, they're not making money. I met a man that he had a pineapple farm. He had a whole pickup full of pineapple, and nobody could buy it. It just got robbed. So the farm broke down because he's producing pineapple, but there are not enough people to buy it. Okay, the pineapple is eaten mostly in Monrovia, where there are 1.5 million people moving up and down. They can't plant pineapple, but the man is producing it in Maryland, and from Maryland to Monrovia the road is closed, and so he can't sell it. So when he can't sell it, he's not going to make, the farm is going to close. But if he was selling, he could have money, and with the money, he could build a zinc house and the rest of that.
You're listening to our interview with, you listen to the Super Money Show right on Neo BC 99.9. And of course, our guest is Mr. TIAH NAGBE. Mr. NAGBE is the former executive director of the National Identification Registry. He's our guest, and of course, he's running for a Senate seat in Maryland County. Now, looking at all of what you spoke about, Mr. NAGBE, good plans, very ambitious, creating 10,000 jobs over the period of 10 years, improving local communities, providing basic social services for our people, sanitation program as well. Those are all good ideas, and your reliance is on direct foreign investment. Do you have plan B where you feel to get investors coming in?
I really hope we cannot fail, because in the modern society, being an economist, I don't know any other way that you can achieve accelerated development in an underdeveloped country without foreign direct investment. It will be hard to fail, because, Mr. George, there are many people around the world with billions and trillions of dollars that want to make a profit. They want to make money on it. Some of them sitting on cash in the United States and in Europe, and they are earning 2% and 5% on it. And they want to earn 20% and 30%. All they are looking for is for you to reach out to them, to provide the right environment for them to make money, an environment that is safe politically. And our country is getting to that now. We are moving to our fourth successive election after the war. So conflict is far behind us. Thank God for the work that President Weah has done to continue, what on the left here. So we are having stability. It's important to investors. You got to provide the right incentives to protect them. So with that, there is so much money around the world willing to come and work here so they can make profit.
Okay.
You just need to reach out to them and provide them the right incentives. And I don't know any other way. Look, all the time we can rule with development partners. Development partners, they are a supplementary tool to accelerated development.
Okay.
They're not a primary tool. They will just give you what they have. If it is not, it's just a medication, a supplement. They're not the one that can cure. If you need 5 billion to develop, they say, "Oh, I just get 500,000. That's my contribution." You got to find the rest. And the most common source has to be foreign direct investment.
Okay.
In the developed world, they have ways to stimulate the economy internally, but that arrangement wouldn't work in places like Liberia. You got to rely on foreign direct investment.
Okay. Now let's go to the part 2 of the second portion of your manifesto, which intends to help President Weah to accelerate what you call economic growth, so as to fight poverty and protect our sovereignty. How do you intend to do that?
One of the key things I will really do at the legislature if I'm successful, and I do hope that I will find my way on the Ways and Means Committee. There are 2 senators from each county, and I think one of them serves on the Ways and Means Committee, not 2 of them. And I do hope that my colleague and my friend, the current Senator Bani, if I'm successful, will allow me, given my training and background, to be on the Ways and Means Committee. I intend to be a strong advocate through that committee for growth, economic growth. Growth is key in fighting poverty. When you expand the economy, the national budget grows. As the national budget grows, you can even handle debt servicing. When you expand the economy, you create jobs. As you create jobs, you lift thousands of people out of poverty. And I'll be pushing very hard for this. And as your government revenue grows, you can deliver better services. When you're finding that there are schools without benches or without teachers, it's because there ain't no money.
Okay.
Clinics, we can talk about corruption and inefficiency and not allocating things properly. But the bottom line, Mr. George, our budget per capita is one of the smallest budgets in the world.
Okay.
It's too small. No matter how we fight, when I work as a financial advisor, I used to meet with more than 300 families per year. And there will be some time I'm advising a family, and sometimes they're making a lot of money, but they're not using it wisely.
Okay.
But sometimes the money just small. And in that case, you know what I tell them? You just got to find a way to make more money. Maybe you got to find an extra job or get training. In this country, we just got to find a way to increase the national budget. We got to do that. And there is no other way. Don't rely on development partners. There's no sustainable way to do it than to grow the economy. As you grow the economy, your tax base will expand. You can close some tax loopholes, but this is what I will be pushing for this. And that's how you fight poverty.
Okay.
The second thing that I intend to do, and this is something that is close to my heart. I worked for the last 9 years in the States with emphasis in pension management and investment of pension assets. I'll be pushing for us to improve the retirement system in this country.
To improve it?
Yes, it needs significant improvement.
What is happening to it? What's lacking there?
We got to put more people on it. There are some countries where even if somebody is a motorcyclist, you can provide a program for them to save for retirement. They don't need to work for government. If the person is a farmer, okay, there are a lot of things that you got to do that make people to save for retirement, more people to save for retirement. And then the programs that they put the money in, you got to make sure the money there. You got to make sure that the money is being managed in such a way that when those people reach retirement, they're not going to end up with an empty bag. So I'll be pushing very hard for a strong retirement system in Liberia. And a retirement system is key for poverty reduction and to lift people out of poverty. Because when all the people that got job, they move into pension and they got good pension, that means they're not depending on their children.
Okay.
That means their children can take care of themselves and those children can take care of their own children instead of having to take care of their parents, take care of themselves, and take care of their children. So we need to do that. And the money that can go in retirement is also money that you can use for investment. So businesses and big businesses can borrow that money. CRC that is in Maryland, my understanding is that money is from the money that started our company. Part of it is from pension, French pensions, pensioners' money. So when you start building up pension systems across the country, there'll be a lot of money that other people can borrow and invest wisely and then give the people money. The other thing that I want to do is to introduce a national health insurance program. Health insurance is very important for saving lives. And one of the key factors for a good healthcare program is how much money the citizens have to pay for the services. And health insurance gives citizens the ability. But there's one that is close to my heart. And that is for us to introduce a legislation that can
our lines are blinking now.
Yes, that can help us fix our cities. Fix our cities in the sense of making sure that we can raise a lot of money in the cities and use the concept of revenue bonds. I see a situation where through this legislation, it's possible in 5 years, and most of the major streets in Monrovia will be paved.
Wow.
Yes, and I'll sell this to the Mr. President, President Weah, and I will really push hard for this because this will accelerate Liberia development.
Mr. NAGBE, former executive director of the National Identification Registry, is running as an independent
citizen.
Independent citizen. How do we understand? How do you interpret that for us?
So for example, Bernie Sanders is an independent. He ran for he's like an independent Democrat. He's elected as an independent, but he caucuses with the Democrats. I'm a citizen who didn't have a chance to run the party ticket. But when I win this seat, it's for the CDC.
It's for the CDC.
It is. I will enter the legislature now as an independent. I will register when I win. Before I go home, I will take my certificate and walk, not drive car. I walk from 9th Street to the CDC headquarters
and present it.
Then I go home.
There you go.
And I will enter the legislature as somebody who was elected as an independent, but who is entering as a citizen. Because that is what I truly am. And I can't run away from that. Whether they gave me the ticket or they didn't give me the ticket, I'm a citizen.
But were you disappointed before when they didn't give you the ticket? Were you disappointed?
A little bit. I expected it. It's a complex thing. We'll talk about it another time. Our country is going through some learning of the democratic process, and all the parties are struggling with how to run primaries. But we'll overcome it. I'll be one of the people to contribute to it. And in the future, hopefully in the next election, it's easy to run one of the best primaries in Africa.
Wow. What do you see as your chances amongst those people you are running?
Are pulled ahead of the pack.
What's the interpretation of that?
It means I'm in the lead now. I started out as the underdog. I entered the race 2 years ago in September 2021. and but I've worked hard, and God has been kind to me.
Mm.
Across the country, there are all indicators that I'm the one to beat. That's how we say it. But I'm the leading candidate.
So how many of your opponents you have run with you?
We are 8 in the election.
8 persons?
Yeah.
And you call yourself a leading candidate?
Yeah,
Why are you so upbeat?
I'm the leading candidate. I've worked hard, the campaign started on the 5th of August, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was in Maryland for about a month and plus, and some of the candidates are just going. So I've done most of the work.
Okay.
I
So you
campaigned.
build your popularity there already.
I worked across the county, campaign across the county for 1 month. In addition to
So you were campaigning when campaign was unannounced.
Well, as soon as they launched campaign, the day they launched campaign,
Okay.
I launched in my home district.
The same day.
I was already there 1 week before that.
Now, what set you apart from the other people you run with?
The kind of solutions that I'm offering. People listen to them and say, this guy is scratching where it is itching. I don't have a job.
Okay.
And I'm struggling to pay my rent or to even build a house. I started building a house. I had some job. I lost a job. And it's just foundation. It's just there. 10 years. My kids are struggling to go to school. Some of them are dropping out of school. Sometimes somebody is sick. I find it hard to send them to hospital.
Okay.
And unfortunately, when they pass away, just the burial, we struggle. I know I'm facing hardship, and I know I go around trying to ask for help from this representative or from this friend. But I know that if I just had a job, I could stand on my 2 feet and just take care of myself.
You seem to be projecting yourself as the man who has all of the solutions for Maryland County.
I have a good bit of the solution. God has blessed me. I've seen light. I came from a very humble beginning. I was born in Barobo.
Okay.
I was born in a rural place. When I was born in Barobo, car couldn't even go to where we lived. For years, I was 10 years old before car went to the town I was living in. But I grew up out of that, and God blessed me. And I went to the United States and saw light. And I saw and worked in the United States. I didn't just get, a lot of people go to America, you get educated, you come back. No, I worked there.
Okay.
I worked at a middle level as a manager, 2-3 institutions. And I had a chance to have a good understanding as an economist as to how they achieve prosperity. So I understand poverty and I understand modernization.
Okay.
And because of that, I'm able to lead my people from where I came from to where I am today. Because I've done it myself. God has blessed me to do it. So I know.
Are you campaigning for you alone, or are you campaigning for you and President we are in Maryland?
I campaigned for the whole month. I did more than 150 meetings, and each of the meetings I promote President Weah. I believe in him. I believe that he's just starting.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that he's going to be an influential person in Africa for another 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he deserves to get re-elected. He faced a lot of challenges, but I think he's moving in the right direction. A couple of things that have happened recently impressed me. And I think people like myself can work with him and we can move our country in accelerate the progress.
Do you see his chances being bright? Because he has some other candidates running along with him, like the former Vice President Joseph Boaka. You got a couple of them, including commies. Do you see President Weah's chances being bright?
The election is competitive. They call it election for a reason. Nobody knows exactly what will happen, but. They are very good candidates. The former vice president is a very good man. I have a lot of respect for him. I know him personally.
You sound as if you are not certain of President Weah's victory.
But I can tell you that President Weah will get re-elected. I think for me, as somebody who reads the game with my little that I have, the best chance that the Unity Party has is one that they can achieve. And their best chance would be to win the election in the first round.
Which they can achieve.
I think as long as they can achieve that, I think the CDC has a great chance to win the first round. But even if they don't do that, if there's a runoff, no matter who finishes ahead of them, they are positioned to win the runoff.
Okay, so let's take
I
few.
believe George Weah will become the next. He will succeed himself.
Let's take a few calls quickly. 0776-540-987 or better still 0880-514-096. That's the number to call. And then you are live on the SMS this morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, this caller. Good morning. Hello. It seems that we are finding it difficult with this phone line. 0776-540-987 or better still 0880-514-096. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, we're hoping that we can get our phone line sorted out quickly. The problem 0776-540-987. Let's take this call on this line. Good morning.
Good morning, Sorbor.
Good morning, sir.
And let me say good morning to your studio guest. Sorbor, This is Mark Doko, and I'm the Deputy Secretary General for Research and Records at the Revolutionary National Youth League Montserrat chapter.
Okay.
Well, let me appreciate your studio guest for the excellent presentation. Sorbor, I think he sounds very patriotic, and since he's a senator at the National Identification Registry, I'm just hearing him articulate. He's a very young man who knows the day-to-day activities of our people. Imagining his experience in the States and bringing it back to Liberia and in improving our sector through the government and private, I believe that if he's starting from the economic background, he can do well from Maryland. I'm from Maryland, specifically T-Ken. So I'm appealing to the people of Maryland to look in the direction so that he can be elected and make a good laws for the people of Maryland because he has the heart of Maryland for his exposure. Thank you.
Many thanks. Let me take this call on the line quickly. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, this caller is not there. Let me go to this other line quickly. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, this other line seems to have problem. Let's take this call. Yes, good morning.
And yes, Momo calling from Federal.
Let's hear from you, Momo.
Yeah, thank you. That studio guys, I don't really know him in person, but I listened to him one day on OKFM. I got interested in him. I seen him registration because the way he sound, the way he can sound, and today again the way he sounded, I know he will be like Eddie Snow, like I cannot agree. There will be cool lawmaker begging the people of the district of Sano County.
Maryland.
That man is the Maryland. Maryland people will beg your national make that man he's a leader. Because look at the places he went, he gets instead of all the places he went. And people are not going to report it. For me, I follow people when they come on the show and get issues, somebody come and report them. That's the kind of people I can follow. But since he been talking about his job, what he been doing for election commission 97, I listen to him. So Maryland people are big yo. That's your that will be the next Eddie Snow, the next Joseph, the next Thomas Fala. Don't miss it. Thank you very much.
Many thanks. I take this call on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, my name is Stapler DJ and I come from Lower Jordanville.
Let's hear from you.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to your studio guests, and I heard a lot of things that you are saying, and I want to say thank you to him. And the only thing I want to say to him is all of the things that he explained. I am not hearing anything about this people because I believe where he coming from, that disabled there. The whole entire country had disabled, but every time people talk a lot of good things, you don't hear anything that they can say about disabled. How disabled that will be improved, how they will be moved around, all will be accessibility of every institution, but nothing you can hear from all of the politicians in this country.
Okay. Many thanks. He wants you to talk about this. Able, you'll talk about that before you go. 0776-540-987. Let's see what we can take call from this line. It seems that the line has a problem. Good morning. Good morning. 0776-540-987. Or better still, 0880-514-096. Let me take this call on this line. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm calling from Jacobstown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all would know that Georgia has a very big difficulty before he can set up what is going on today. He has set a very good record in this country. We all seeing it. There's no one that can deny it. Georgia deserves the election. He deserves to be back. He deserves to continue what he is doing. We love him, and he has to go there back. Nobody should deceive anyone in this country. We've seen what he's doing. He's the rightful person to go back there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Many thanks. Many thanks. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, sir.
This is Harris Tamapungi Kakama calling you from Foya, to be specific, Lupa County. Okay, let me say a very plus to the Justin studio this morning. And I got all what he said. What I have to tell the people of Maryland County is to vote for the mayor. Consider him as a good leader of the mayor that have the future for the people of Maryland County. So please and please, today, through the man's characters, through the man's career, through what he did and what he is doing, I think in my heart that the man is qualified to go for the position. So please, to the people of Maryland County, I'm apologizing to you. So please elect the man comes October 10, 2023 as your leader. So thank you very much. I remain Kakama calling you from Foya District.
Okay. Many thanks, many thanks, many thanks. Let's take another call from this line, 0776-540-987. Again, 0776-540-987. That's the number to call, and you are live quickly. Good morning. Good morning. Hello? Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Let's hear from you quickly.
This is Jesse T. Howard.
Yes, go ahead. It seems that this call is not ready. Let me take this little call quickly. Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Yeah, this is Charles Sibo calling from Balance City, Charles Market.
Let's hear from you, Sibo. Okay, he's off the line. He's gone off the line at 0776-540-987. I'm sure we'll take 3 more calls and we'll wrap it up quickly. Good morning. Good morning. This studio line should have a problem. They should have a problem, I'm sure. Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Yes, good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Victoria.
Let's hear from you.
Yeah, I'm Victoria. We have live for water in 540. Yeah, I'm so excited about TIAH. The main studio that the studio guys. I have late caller time 540 right beyond Orlando. I'm calling on the Maryland to try out in numbers to vote for TIAH is the right leader. I follow him. I'm going to tell the studio guys thank you.
Okay. Many thanks. Let me take this one. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Emmanuel Boga calling from Cleveland, Oregon District. Okay, what I want to say is this. The first thing I want to appreciate your studio guest, Honorable J.T. Nangwe. And one thing is that, I have just money last for the harbor. I was just doing the money last harbor and Plibo. He was going to provide 10,000 jobs for us. But we don't even have a single job for his Nangwe bring to Maryland County. However, we believe that if he becomes senator of Maryland County, he will not turn his back to us like what the other has done to us. It has been happening to us in Maryland County for a very long time. They always come to us and give us promises. I will do this for you. I will do that for you. I will provide 10,000 jobs for you. I will make sure you get good health. I will make sure you get good growth. But later on, when they win, they will take all the blame and put it on the president. When the president is not working. So how will we believe that? How will we believe Honorable TIAH will provide that 10,000 jobs? And how will we believe that he will money last people and half? That is the question I want to ask for today.
Okay, you'll respond to that before he leaves. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to say good morning to your studio guys. He spoke very well. I'm calling from District 1. But I only want to ask the Marylander to elect this president as the next representative to put the agenda of our president. He spoke lessons so that he can develop our country. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'll take 2 more calls and then I'll wrap it up quickly. I'll take 2 more calls. But in the meantime, let me see where this call will go. Good morning. Okay, this line has a problem. Let me take it from this line. This line has a problem. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Joy.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Okay, I want to tell God thank you for your studio guests and whatsoever that you have just expressed this morning. but I just want to ask him one question. With all the good ideas that he bringing to the table, do we have four bad position? That is to say, if he doesn't win this election, will he come with the good ideas to the person who win the election in order to live all the millennium?
Okay. Many thanks. Well, that does it. Mr. TIAH, you can respond to those concerns, then we'll wrap it up with you quickly.
So I will start with the last question and go up. This is a question I face sometimes. People will say, if you're not elected, you can do these same things. And my response sometimes is, if somebody is not playing for your team, they can score goals for the team. Life doesn't work like that. If the people listen to me and they decide that they don't want me to be their leader and somebody else to be their leader, then the person who is their leader, they will do the work. Because the way government works is that you assume the power and influence of the position to do things. Many of the things you do, they are not from your personal resources. Like I give them an example. President Tubman paved the streets of Harper and did a lot of things there. President Tubman could not have done that if he wasn't president of Liberia. President Weah is working on a highway, along the coast, the coastal highway. President Weah can only build that road if he's president of Liberia, using national resources and national opportunities in his position. If he's not president of Liberia, he cannot find that kind of money on his own. So if you want somebody to do the things that they are promising to do, then you have to elect them. If you don't elect them, then they will not be able to do those things. The other guy spoke passionately about how people have disappointed them. And people say this in Liberia. Oh, the other people disappointed. Okay, look, let me say something to you. The Americans have been having elections for almost 300 years. They're still having elections. They are developed. They're still pushing to develop more. We are struggling. We have to keep trying hard. We can't give up. Even if somebody lied before, if somebody didn't do the job before, we still have to vote. We still have to search and find the right people. We have to keep doing it because we need to do it to improve our lives. I tell people to check, if somebody can do something, check their past. Check my past. Check the record in terms of the things I've done, the places I've worked and the things I've done. And then I'm certain that I can do this job. Somebody talk about disabled people. I care a lot about disabled people. At the national legislation, I'm going to fight for them. That's why last Christmas, I worked with my friends in the United States and we mobilized 7,000 United States dollars and brought 300 bags of rice and distributed it to disabled and elderly people in Maryland. And I will do that kind of work, fighting for disabled people and less fortunate people. I told you I'm a progressive. Yeah, so I will do that if I'm successful, to make sure that we give them a chance in life.
Well, thank you very much. And a parting comment to the people of Maryland County?
Well, we are almost there. We'll be having elections in less than 30 days. And we have to do the right thing for ourselves. I tell Marylanders that the election is about you. If you choose the right leaders, you're going to have a bright future. If you choose the wrong people and you don't have a bright future, then you can't blame everybody. You got to blame yourself too, because this government is your government. And I ask you to vote for TIAH NAGBE on October 10 to be the next senator of Maryland County, because working along with you, I will help you to face the challenges. Don't be afraid. We'll fight poverty and we'll put it under control. And we'll give you a bright future. And that's what we call it, a new hope for Maryland. Thank you and God bless you.
Many thanks. He's Mr. TIAH NAGBE, the former executive director of the National Identification Registry. He's vying for a seat in the Senate for the people of Maryland County. Well, thank you very much. I'll be back, God willing. That's tomorrow. But listen now, there's no second chance for first.